Hi everyone, just setting up. Give me a second. Just checking to see if everything's working. I'm still a bit of a streaming amateur after all. Hmm.
Please
Better turn up
start.
the fan of my laptop a bit because it's heating up already with all the recording software and on top of Photoshop. Right. I think that's everything set up properly. Let's just close the unnecessary tabs just in case. We wouldn't want to tank the performance too much while I draw. Let's see, YouTube stream is functional, Twitch stream is functional. Let's refresh it real quick. Once it's all definitely okay, we're gonna talk a little bit about what we're gonna do today and why. And then I'll get started on turning this sketch into a painting. And then okay, the audio from the stream is working. I was worried there for a second. Right, so if I am hard to hear, feel free to post a message, a reaction, wherever you're watching. I'm trying to keep a close eye on all the different streaming chats. Right, that about does it for setting up. So, last time I worked on an autumn themed illustration, which I had tentatively called Vibrant Autumn. I had a hard deadline on it, so I had to stop eventually. I do have a tendency to like polish forever, so I had to just cut it short here. I am pretty satisfied with the way it came out. You know, there's a few little things like this mushroom in the background. There was a last minute change with that, and I would have liked to polish it a bit more. But you know, no use crying over spilt milk. I think the general image looks pretty good. You know, it's definitely a step up in terms of my last illustration. It's been a long time in general since I've been able to actually properly finish an illustration. So it's interesting to be starting on a new one. That was Skype dying because I can't be having Skype on as well as drawing. Or well, I can, but you know how it is, the noise. So ideally, we want this kind of detail and atmosphere in this piece. Now let's see if there isn't a last version to jump to. Oh, projects. Yeah, because I've merged the layers on this one. Let's see. I definitely enlarged the house a little bit on this one. Right. That's a bit awkward that I merged the layers together, but that shouldn't be too big of a problem. What we want to be doing is finding a color scheme for this piece. Now, it's kind of wintry, like this one, the vibrant autumn one, was generally like reddish and orange, going into darker greens. I want to do different colors in general. Like, it doesn't matter, there's some overlap, but we definitely want to be focusing on a specific set of colors. So I'm probably going to just throw some colors around. Like, this is going to be a bit more off the cuff than the last streams have been, where I generally like was very careful about polishing stuff. I'm just gonna disgustingly throw some colors on there just to see what sticks. So I'm thinking of which color I want to be my dominant one. In a cold piece, you generally want like a colder color. But definitely not green, because green was already so prominent in the last painting. So I'm thinking I'm going for a gentle kind of purple, maybe. Let's see how that works. And again, this is just gonna be me grossly slapping some colors on, just to see what works. Purple light is very, very spooky. So the thing with purple light, though, is that this is not gonna look like a welcoming place. Well, regardless, there's no point in constantly doubting it. Let's find a secondary color. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the idea is that the roof and many other parts are covered in snow. Right, so it flows from purple to blue to cyan a bit, I guess. And again, this is just very experimental, just checking the feel of this color scheme. This should probably be a bit darker if it's on the foreground. Also, I shouldn't forget to put on some music, because I always forget. And it's kind of weird if you just hear me babble on without any kind of noise in the background. Except for the noise my laptop makes, of course. Right, let's pick out a nice soundtrack. There we go. Wow, this is starting to look kind of green anyway. Of course, the snow should be relatively on the white side. But it should also look a bit like it's illuminated, because snow kind of is. YouTube suddenly starting commercials. Sneaky, sneaky YouTube. Let's see, there's snow up here too, and it's very close to the moon, so... Okay, I'm going to be honest. Not a fan of this color scheme so far. Like, I wanted something with purple, but maybe purple is just not the color I need for this piece. Well, it's not so much that I wanted something with purple, it was more something cold. So I guess it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to resort to purple, since it is one of the more warmer colors. Let's see, this ground isn't covered by snow, so it should be dark. Alright. If you're interested, this is the Ori and the Blind Forest original soundtrack. It is a rather beautiful game. But this is just experimental anyway. I'm sure you understand. I'm not sure how dark I want to make this cloud, so... This used to be sort of... this used to be from the chimney, because I like the way it's silhouetted against the moon. But the house and the chimney have moved, so... Shouldn't have the opacity on the eraser too low. You want to remove things in a decisive manner. Yeah, since snow is kind of... it reflects all light. It's gonna look kinda weird if it's not the same color as the light from the sky. To some extent, which is why I've made it bluish, but this is a bit of a super moon, That's topical because there was a supermoon recently, I believe. Well, regardless, let's see about this smoke. So what I like about this piece so far, not to be like, ooh, I make great art, because I'm actually pretty unsure about it. I like the way it's canvassed by dark colors. So it's completely closed in. Like the viewer, there's nothing about this composition that makes you look outside of it, I guess is the best way to put it. But this house isn't gonna work like this. I may just have to use a warm color after all. So let's try that. Let's just see where it takes us. There's something to be said for the idea of like a very warm looking house in a very cold looking environment. Yeah, let's get rid of all the purple. And on that note, I don't think I want the moon to be quite this blue either. Let's make it a very pale yellow instead. Well, if this is kind of orange, I guess the light from inside could be either yellowish or red.
Ik ben een eigenwijs.
Commercials. That's the second interruption in a very short time. I'm kind of against using adblock on YouTube because I like to support creators, but that kind of nonsense really makes me want to turn it back on. Right. Let's see. So the moon is an almost greenish, slightly yellow now. And also very bright. Maybe a bit too bright, actually. What? That illustration can go away for now. I still think I want the overlapping mountain behind it. Let's see, how did I do that? Yeah, so... Before I forget, we're gonna be doing regular saves, just in case. You never know if you lose your progress. Also, I want to check something real quick. Just checking to see if I could isolate the line art a little bit, just to be sure, because I don't really like drawing over art like that. Let's see. Let's lock this layer, just in case I decide to spontaneously start drawing on it. So traditionally, I like to draw everything as bright as possible near the focal point, and then darker as it gets away from the focal point. However, there's the moon, and the moon is going to be a powerful light source in and of itself. So we'll have to probably, if I want to make this the obvious focal point, I may need to dull the moon a little bit. Just gonna remove some of these misplaced lines. So, one of my problems now is I feel like there's a bit of a lack of color diversity in the shot. We've got blue and we've got orange. We've got orange for the highlights, essentially, and blue for the darker parts. But which color is going to be like the mid-range color? Or at at least want to add some contrast. Oh, whoops, drawing on the wrong layer again. Scandalous. Just scandalous. So, there's a few trees up there, so I could use green as a secondary color. I mean, it is kind of in the middle. Let's see how it looks, why don't we? See if it fits the scene. It's not gonna be a prominent color in the scene, so the more I look at it, the less I like the look of that secondary window. So we could employ green. Sort of muted green, but green nonetheless. Kind of on the yellow end of things. But it would need to be a bit more present throughout the scene. So maybe have some plants growing up this little lodge. And the reason why is I think it's kind of interesting, like normally when there's overgrowth you might see it as like abandonment, but now it looks more like life is desperately trying to escape to this little lodge. I don't know, something like that. So, like, maybe this house is kind of a source of life. Like, maybe there could be little plants growing from the or at least moss on the chimney. Wow, that's not a hard word. Chimney. Right, but an issue here is, let's look at the scene in black and white. You'll notice that it's very hard to distinguish a focal point, and it's definitely not here, if you think about it. The way you look at it, I mean. So we're going to try and establish a better variation of tone. So first off, the moon is just too bright right now. If we tone it down a bit, we could even move it a bit more towards the green, where it already is. Further improving that color diversity I was talking about. This allows us to darken the snow a bit too, and make it a bit more green. By the way, if anyone has any suggestions for colors they want to see, I'm totally open for being interactive with the stream. If you've got an idea for a color you'd like to see in the piece, feel free to shout it out. No problem. I'm gonna be keeping a close eye on the chat. Let's see. Color diversity is one thing and tone diversity is another. Some people would call it the same. Tone and color. Right. Now that the moon is a bit darker, the sky should be a bit darker as well. Perhaps a bit more towards this color, because we have determined that this is our dark color. Though we want to be careful not to lose that tone diversity we've just established. Everything needs to look nice and varied. Right, now that the sky is a bit darker, you could push this to be even more extreme. So the light is coming out quite strongly, but there's like a figure blocking the light too. Let's soften this light a little bit. Hi Chris, I'm doing alright. How about you? Alright, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I've started on a new piece. I'm still kind of finding my way around this one. Like right now, it's a bit mushy. There needs to be a bit more contrast. Like watching the contrast is definitely one of my weaknesses, so that's something I need to look out for. I'm just gonna have the rough tone and color in place, and then we'll see where it goes. Thanks. Right, so we're gonna make this a bit darker as it goes further down, because it would make sense to be a bit brighter near the moon. And it's also nice that it contrasts a bit more with the little lodge. Yeah, let's see about this. Let's zoom out a bit and see if we can still make out the vocal point at a far distance. I'd say it's pretty clear in terms of color, due to how extremely bright yellow it is. I think we can do better with the tone, though. These clouds up here should probably be a lot darker, although they are pretty dark already. Well, let's darken them just a little bit, see how that looks. But yeah, Chris, you were streaming earlier today, I think. I tried to like visit your stream, but oh right, a function where you would sort of merge the stream with another person's stream, like have the two chats together. Oh, all right. I guess I didn't read it properly. I just saw one stream set to live, so I looked at it, but it was set to private. But yeah, that sounds like an interesting function, to be sure. It's but would you be able to do like the actual streams side by side as well? Because there are specialized art streaming websites like Brocarto allow you to do multi-streams, I think. I don't have much experience working with it, but maybe that would work. Because if you merge the chats, it makes the most sense to also just merge the streams themselves. At least that's what I think, but either way, I do think it's a cool idea. Really accentuates the idea of several artists working together on their stuff. It's cool. I think it's definitely worth experimenting with at the very least. Right, so the house should cast a shadow. And yet, light comes out from the doorway and from this little lamp. This little light of mine. Yeah, it's definitely a cool idea. Still debating on how dark to make this smoke cloud. what I think is kind of cool is the lodge itself is actually making the cloud. The idea being that this house is sort of intentionally hidden. It hides itself from the world by being in a very remote place and having being in the middle of the mountains, so to speak. I haven't thought too much on it, but I do like to sort of tell a story with the art. Like there's a mysterious figure standing in the doorway. It looks pretty pretty silly right now. It looks like a caricature woman wearing large oven mitts. But we're gonna see about giving that some more detail right now. Thanks. I hope the darker stuff around the edges generally keeps the composition nice and focused. Like you'll notice I'm kind of cheating by having stuff intentionally pointing towards my focal point. Like these little branches and such. And even this commercial again. YouTube plus. Yeah, it was just a quick scribble essentially. Like I've actually been thinking about how this character should look. Like considering like maybe I should do like a whole design phase for this character, but since you'd literally just see a small bit, I thought I could get away with keeping it fairly simple. But let's see if we can't define it a bit better. Now it looks more like a robed figure, like this. Maybe the arm should go behind the back, looks friendlier. Right now, he or she, I think it's a she, but I haven't decided yet. Looks like she is about to deck someone straight in the face. Although it's kind of weird, like, how does this person live in this house when they are clearly far too tall to fit in the door? Maybe I'll use the oven mitts in another piece, but for now I think this looks a bit better. Alright, Chris. Then I'll talk to you later, I guess. Oh, I'm drawing on the wrong layer. Good thing it's set to multiply, so I noticed immediately. That would have been awkward. Alright, no problem. Thanks for the invite. It's really cool to have a platform like this to stream on. And that Restream.io tool was definitely like a game changer. Being able to stream to Twitch and YouTube at the same time and this offers the potential to stream to many other services as well, so that's very cool. I really appreciate it. See, the moon is hereabouts. Let's give it a bit of shadow. Now, one thing that that is very important, which I used to really mess up on as an artist, like way back when, was I used to just make light white and shadows black. Now, that's a very natural thing to do for people because, you know, it's a color that's just what communicates very well as light and shadow. It's the colors we first associate with it. But in reality, very little light is actually pure white and very little shadow is actually pure black. So that's something I really had to learn, had to step off from. Also, I drew a dirty line across this and didn't notice for so many strokes that I can't undo it. Hashtag artist problems. It's fine, though. This is just a sketch anyways. Like, once we've got a good feeling about this piece, we're gonna try and work it out. Yeah, so in the earlier version, as you see here, it wasn't quite as canvassed. And the house wasn't the focus. Now, that's another thing. Like, sometimes I just go out on a limb to decide, like, I just draw without really any direction, and I decide much later what the focal point is, and I have to make changes. Slightly sloppy, I know, but it's tempting to draw without thinking, so to speak. There's a little horseshoe above the door. I thought that was cute because horseshoes are kind of known to like ward off evil. Well, if you believe that sort of thing. Point is, it's sort of a folk thing. Horseshoes are believed to ward off evil. And I liked the idea of this little lodge essentially being a sort of a safe haven from evil, but guarded by a potentially scary person. Alright, I'm not sure how long I can stream for this session. Let's give these trees a bit more actual color. The moon is sort of greenish and so are the trees, so I'm confident in just using a lighter shade of the base color. Now, all that in general, it's kind of bad form to just use a lighter or darker shade of the base color of something. Because you essentially just add white or black if you do that. But when the light source is about the same color as the object, I don't think it's wrong. But I still have a lot to learn about the actual theory behind these things, so don't quote me on that. If anyone wants to offer feedback about how the piece is coming along, that's appreciated, of course. Also, I hope you like the music. It's still Ori and the Blind Forest. These rays of light are pretty intense. I'm not sure if I should tone it down or if it kind of works. So the silhouette is kind of hard to read, which is, if you want to make a recognizable character, is kind of a no-no, but in this case it's kind of supposed to be mysterious and enigmatic, so I think I can get away. But with that said, we don't want it to be a complete blob, so I'm trying to give it some depth. Like, what if the little feet stick out from the door? My mobile phone is going crazy. Give me a second to look at it. Right. Frankly, I'm just dissatisfied with how this wall looks. Gonna reset the board on that one. Now, this method is a bit unorthodox. Like, normally I like to draw under the lines, but the advantage is this is already for a big part an overpaint, so we'll be able to go right into the painting process after we've found a satisfying solution for all the colors and tone. Let's see, so this is our focal point. That's a fact I have decided. However, there is a light right next to it. Now, you don't want two focal points right next to each other competing for attention. So this one should be a bit softer. Maybe of a slightly different tone even. Because let's assume that the inside of this room is ridiculously well lit. Let's say that it's got a big old fireplace, it's got a lot of lights, and this is just one little lantern with a small flame, presumably to guide travelers unfortunate enough to end up in this place in the mountains. Another commercial, YouTube. You're going to make me upset if you keep that up. This one, I like this tune. In general, I really liked Ori and the Blind Forest. That game is undoubtedly one of the most gorgeous I've ever played. And it's very sweet as well. It's a very cute game. Very sad too, here and there, but you know. The stories that are happiest can only be happy by contrasting it with, you know, the sadness, the darker parts. That's something I feel Ori understands very well, because it starts like on a very high note, then it drops to pain and misery very quickly, and then it builds back up. It's, in that sense, it's kind of like how Metroidvania sometimes work. Like, if you've played a lot of Metroidvania type games, because Ori is a Metroidvania essentially, they'll often give you like a taste of what abilities you'll have in the late game, and then some villain, Dracula or Ridley or whomever, will come up kick you in the jaw and take all your powers. Now, Ori does that. Doesn't really do that on a gameplay level. Like, it doesn't take abilities away from you, but it's more on a story and an emotional level. That it starts on such a high point and then drops from 100 to 0 in terms of positive emotions. But then it builds you back up, and it's well, there's still tragedy in the story. I mean, you can't. Well, I suppose you shouldn't spoil anything about Ori and the Blind Forest. Obviously, it's a game you really should play for yourself if you like. If you like video games in general. Like, I wanted to say if you like Metroidvanias, but Ori kind of successfully manages to be one of those exemplary titles that supersedes you needing to be a fan of the genre necessarily. It's just that good. It's very smooth, very quick. Like, the game doesn't give you 100 things to equip right off. It's actually most of the abilities you learn are all mobility. You don't get a rocket and a missile and then a super missile and then a beam and a new beam and another beam. It's all, double jump, triple jump, swimming, wall jumping, wall climbing. Lots of mobility related stuff. So it's it knows what it wants to be. That's the best I can say. It's a great game. I love it. Yeah, that's the thing with stories. Like, you can't really have a feel-good story without some negativity. Like, if you just take like a slice of life type series, like look at any of them, you're never gonna be invested in that way. Even if the overall atmosphere may seem to be more positive, you're never gonna be invested in the same way you might be in a story that starts out really tragically and builds up, or starts really cheerfully and falls down. It's all about contrast. In that sense, storytelling is not so different from drawing. Too much darkness or too much light and you get apathy. And similarly in a drawing, too much dark and too much light and you get a boring composition. Let's zoom out a bit again and see if the vocal point is still clear. It is still clear, however, it's still not clear to the point that I wanted. Like, I think the roof detracts too much from the vocal point because it is fairly bright. Since the moon is kind of blocked off by the roof, I think we should darken it a bit here. Just experimenting, of course. Alright, let's shade it very gently. Shade it very gently. Right. Now that it's very gently shaded, let's mute these. Let's mute this snow a little bit, because we need to be clear on what exactly is the vocal point in this scene. Gonna show how the light affects the cloud. I can still kind of see what's going on, but maybe that's because I'm familiar with the piece. Also, if you're not watching the stream in HD, you're probably not gonna see a thing right now. So I'll zoom back in before you go blind from staring at a very weird dot in the middle of my screen. Right, so we're gonna darken things as they move away from the lodge. That's actually what I've titled this piece, The Lodge. It's kind of straightforward because that's literally what this piece is focused on, but it works. I like to title my pieces in that way. I don't know why, it gives it more identity, I guess. Like, I'm the kind of person who likes to obsess over like what a composer calls a track on a soundtrack. Like, I like to I'm the kind of person that likes to think about like, okay, why did they call it that? Like, how do I feel this fits the tune you composed? Sometimes it gives me a sort of newfound appreciation for composers to see them give fun titles to their tracks. Like, this is especially true for games music, because a lot of people, when they think about a game music, they think like, oh, that tune is Mario Level 1 or Mario Overworld or Mario Athletic. So I appreciate it when music actually has like a name that isn't just utilitarian. Like, I could have called this I don't know, Shadowy Composition with Snow Part 1 or something, but that wouldn't be very charming, would it? Now, maybe The Lodge is kind of generic too, but you know, this is just a thing. Sometimes I wonder if other people are kind of apathetic about titles and such. Because there's a lot of tunes, a lot of themes in games that I really like. And I also like their names. Like, you've got that infamous tune from Super Mario RPG called Beware the Forest's Mushrooms. It's like, it just packs a bit more punch than just calling it Forest Maze, you know?
Long live Queen Elizabeth.
This is another ad, isn't it? Again. Oh, YouTube. You sure like to play ads all the time. Right, so let's reduce it to black and white, because it can be easy to... What? That's not black and white. Let's reduce it to black and white and see if that changes how clear the... Well, that didn't do anything. Right, so what's important is, even though there's no color now, you can still see what the vocal point is. Like, this bit still clearly catches the most attention because it has the highest contrast. It has both the brightest and darkest tone in this entire scene. So I think that's effective so far. Please don't mind how smudgy it all is. We're gonna fix all of that in due time. Right now I'm just kind of finding how exactly I want this piece to look. This is probably strictly not the perfect methodology for finding the right tone, but like I said, I'm kind of a I'm kind of a stubborn person sometimes, and I like to just experiment around a bit. The question is, how good is this? I kind of like how the piece looks right now, but there's of course potential to add more. Well, see, these little trees are kind of a double-edged sword, because while they do lead kind of to my vocal point, they also point up, but they also provide the necessary color diversity I want. So I may remove them at a later stage if I become especially annoyed with them, or we may have to find an alternate solution. But for now, it's fine. Let's darken the tone here a bit as we go further away from the moon. I do like incorporating the moon in the pieces I draw. Last year on Halloween, I made a pirate ship with a pirate proudly perched at the front of the ship with the moon behind him. That was very fun to make. Right, let's take this and see if we can't polish a few of these lines out. Like, let's very sneakily start looking at the potential of this as a painting. Now, as a challenge to myself, I'm gonna switch to the hard brush, because soft brush is easy mode. Oh, whoops. Right, we're gonna flatten this since we already saved a new version. Gotta check just to make sure, because I'm paranoid. Right. Right, let's see about making this sketch into a full-blown illustration. Now, I should say that I'm not gonna finish this tonight. At least probably not. I do like the idea of getting a lot of stuff done in a single evening, but right, let's give the clouds a bit more of a defined shape. Like, that's certain. We're gonna probably blur the edge again when the time comes, but for now I just want to make it very clear where the smoke is. This is another great theme, by the way. Should have sort of an erratic shape, because smoke is kind of an erratic phenomena. Maybe that's a bit too on the nose, the whole... Like, it's building up at the base of this thing. It's a bit exaggerated, I guess. Let's not do that. Also, if anyone is still watching on YouTube or Twitch, feel free to join in on the conversation. Your feedback will always be appreciated. This YouTube commercial, however, will not. So what I'm gonna do is kind of redefine the surfaces a little bit. So we're not gonna do this with maximum accuracy. Yeah, that's that word. We're not gonna do this with maximum accuracy. Just gonna redefine it a little bit. Remember, this is only a sketch after all, so we can be liberal in how we change it up. And I have the previous version saved just in case. So we should be fearless. Because only the fearless can be great. And speaking of Ratatouille quotes, that's a good Pixar movie. Like, it's one of my favorites personally because it very much resonates with the artistic side of things, I guess. Like, I remember watching the special edition DVD for that, and they actually had like a bit on the DVD where they had to research the movie. They actually spoke to like a chef cook, like a master chef of some kind, and he and the director found out lots of their little methods, like the way they experimented with concepts, was the same, even though one was a cook and the other was a director for animated movies. I thought that was interesting. All arts are different, but they all share a few qualities too. It's gonna be a bit flat again. Now we're flattening it a bit, but we're gonna make sure the necessary depth is there when it comes to the final version. Right now I'm just quickly removing some stuff just to see how it works. Also, my nose is very itchy. That was probably unnecessary information, but whenever I'm working on something with extreme focus, suddenly my nose starts itching. It's a typical thing. Probably has something to do with Murphy's Law. Like right when you're busy, something happens to distract you. Happy little trees. Going to have to re-establish a lot of the light and shadow we've put here, but that's fine. I'm mostly just reminding myself of that because I always get nervous when I'm painting over my own work like this. Like there's a certain stage when you're looking at the sketch and you're like, hey, it looks alright. How about we leave it alone? There's always that impulse, like, oh, well, you know, it's got a decent contrast. It's, I like the color scheme. But of course we can't do that. Only one way to go, and that's forward. Maybe this side also needs one of those little branches. Maybe. I do like the idea of like maybe trees being up there and their roots growing in from here, pointing to that little house. So let's see if adding an extra adding an extra branch will do anything for this piece. I don't like it. This side is already quite saturated in terms of details. You look at this. And these branches fill up the negative space here a bit. But on the other side, I don't get the idea that it will contribute much. You can always check later in the process though. A lot of little details will be re-established, like the bricks on this chimney. So here's another thing I've been thinking about. Like maybe I'll stream drawing in Flash one day. So I am like currently my professional life is mostly animating, which inevitably means I'm working a lot with Flash. So I tend to scribble some stuff in Flash too. So maybe it'll be cool to draw something in that. It's a very different kind of drawing. Like I don't think I'd be making environments in that. More character designs and maybe short animations, but still, it might be an interesting angle of approach. Right, this is definitely starting to take a more solid shape. Now I'm not sure how long I will go on with this. That's another commercial.
Ik ben een eigenwijs.
No, you're not.
Ik ben...
Right, this should probably be a bit darker if we're gonna make it visible against the moon. If you hold a moon-colored object in front of the moon, can you still see it? Those are the real questions you have to ask yourself. Let's work on these little vines. Just to see how they might look. It's kind of cool to be working on a winter-themed illustration. Like I've been thinking about doing like more seasonal stuff, and the winter-themed thing, like something with snow and ice, is something I've always wanted to make like a really good piece focused on winter, on the cold. And I've tried a few times, but I don't think I've quite pulled it off yet. Like one Christmas, I think 2 Christmases ago, I made a drawing of a very large snowman, which I thought was cute, but it wasn't quite all that, you know, it was a snowman standing in a completely empty wasteland. And it ended up feeling like it just was missing something. One thing we have to wonder about these vines is, are they actually illuminated? Because it sure looks like it. I don't remember all the tracks from the Ori soundtrack. This one, for example, I don't remember. It's nice though. I like those kinds of lanterns, like the kind of horned ones. Looks cool. Well, I made the horn a bit more exaggerated than it would probably be in on a real lantern, but you know. Right, we are coming onto the 90-minute mark, and that also means I'm just about going to stop very soon. Simple reason being I'm pretty tired. I got a rather unfortunate lack of sleep. So, yeah. I think 1.5 hours is a pretty good mark to stop at. This scary music, very appropriate for the time almost running out. I was really debating on whether I should even stream this particular phase. Like last time, I kind of started on a completely finished sketch, and yeah. It's a bit more convenient to work with that because, well, what it needs to be is already very clear. Like your direction is very clear. Now it feels a bit like it may be hard to guess where I'm going with it, I guess. Still, we'll see when it's done, of course, but I want it to be as fun a stream to watch as possible, you understand? it's a pretty dark shade. Still very unpolished, but I feel like you're starting to see the basic idea of it. But I always kind of lose my confidence at this stage. It's why I have trouble like finishing whole illustrations, because there's always going to be phases where it looks very messy and we're just not entirely sure of the direction. And yeah, it can really hurt your morale, so to speak. Something you have to just break through. Keep drawing until it's in a state you like, and then decide if it's good or not. But it's very easy to look at your sketch and think, well, this looks like garbage.
Hallo allemaal.
There's another
Welkom bij mijn
commercial.
vlog.
Shush. Right, we're almost through the soundtrack. So in terms of streaming, I've been thinking about how to approach the future of my own streaming career, so to speak. So I don't think I want to stick to exclusively doing art, because for those of you who don't know, I'm actually, or was I suppose, a Let's Player too. I had a YouTube channel, or have a YouTube channel called Arjen Plays, where I play games. But I found out that doing and the recording and also actual editing is nearly impossible to combine with my my work schedule, so to speak. So it was promptly abandoned a few months ago, right after I had this big set of videos where I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do this many videos now. Yep, that YouTube channel is a pile of broken promises. Not something I'm proud of, but where am I going with this? That turned into a depressing rant. Where am I going with that? Well, I was thinking about, editing is just kind of a troublesome affair if you've so many other things to do. So I thought maybe streaming and using the Let's Play channel as a backlog might be better. The only problem being my laptop is in some under some stress right now, so I don't want to be doing too much gaming and recording. But still, that's an idea for the future. I'm thinking about, like, if things kind of settle in a nice, stable way, I might be able to do like one game evening and one art evening every week or so. That sounds like a fun idea, at least. this is definitely the ending credits theme. We've eliminated most of the sketch lines. There's a few left, but I need those to actually show where the indentations in the house, the lodge are. I should probably switch back to a lower opacity brush soon. I decided to just challenge myself to just use the hard brush and polish it that way, but hard brush and polish don't necessarily go together very well. But hey, you gotta try and challenge yourself sometimes. I think I did a decent job of translating the piece so far. This snow might be a bit too bright, but we'll fix that when we get to that bridge. Hearing this again is just making me sad. Like very few game soundtracks make me as sad as end credits themes, because it's like, welp, the game is over. And that's about it, you know? It's kind of sad. Also, I have been working for 10 minutes longer than I thought I would, but now that it's come down to it, I'm not sure if I'm gonna stop yet. But in this stage of the drawing, I always get those low points, like when I just look at it and I'm like, okay, the sketch was alright, but now that I'm trying to convert it into a full-blown painting, it looks like garbage, as I said. And that's something that's really hard to get rid of for me. But as long as I keep drawing, it's slowly gonna get better and better. Now, once we've got a few more basic things down, we can switch to a softer brush and start to get those nice details back in. let's see, you've gone from this to this, this to this, this to this. Right, I should be careful not to start focusing on the details too much. Alright. I should probably cut it short soon, because while I feel a bit better about the whole piece now, it's still a long way off from being finished, and I need a rest in a little bit. There we go. So yeah, the vines still look like they are, how do you say that, fluorescent? Like they emit light naturally. Which is, I don't think most plants do that. Not ones that grow in snowy areas anyway. But still. Right, let's fix this. So that it looks like the snow is kinda starting to cover the house a bit. Right, I am planning to stop now, but I should do a few more things. Like, this doesn't need to be this bright, but because it's kind of sticks out from the rest, I'll accentuate it and get rid of those ugly sketch lines in the meantime. Bottom right looks, something's weird about the bottom right. Didn't draw the whole thing, that's what was weird. Right, so to illustrate, we've gone from here to here to here. So we've observed the sketch. We found a nice color scheme and a way to have some contrast, and then we started building on that. It's still a work in progress, obviously, but good first step, good first step. So, thanks for watching. I will be cutting the stream for now, but I really appreciate anyone who came around to watch it, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks, and have a great Saturday.